this is where, the playoff teams are starting to really showcase themselves. There's teams that are in the middle of the pack. They're still fighting for a playoff spot. And, obviously you got teams outside looking in. So let's look at some of the stats, look at some of the standings. I'm going to look at the schedule from last week just to see, how many games that were played for real. We had 10 games played last week. So, the activity is still there. And that's really encouraging. 10 games that were at least attempted to be played. The week before that, however, not so good. We had only 3 attempted games. So we got to, make sure we stay active as we, each game counts now. These are where, games really count. And speaking of games that counts, let's look at the scores that we have so far. It is the Philadelphia Eagles and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers was coming in with a record of 5-4. The Eagles 4-5. But now both teams happen to be 5-5. It was the Philadelphia Eagles winning at home. They win that football game 35-17. St. Louis Rams and the Baltimore Ravens. St. Louis was coming in the record with a 3-6 record. They win. Now they're 4-6. And with that victory, the Ravens now are 4-6 as well. Because they lost that football game. It is the Panthers and the Redskins. The Redskins were coming into the week 11 with a 4-5 record. The Panthers were 6-3. They improved to 7-3, and the Redskins they fell to 5-5. That final score of that football game was 38-14. We have the Arizona Cardinals and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cardinals, they prevail with a 41-17 victory. With that victory, the Arizona Cardinals now are 8-2. The Bengals are just 1-9. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. They remain undefeated. The Chiefs with a road victory over the divisional rival and the Chargers. That final score was 24-6. With that victory, the Chiefs now are 10-0, and the Chargers still, involved with things. They're 7-3. That is obviously the toughest division so far in this league. I think the Raiders and the Chiefs are undefeated. And then you got the Chargers sitting here at 7-3. Other matches we're looking forward to is the Tennessee Titans. They'll play the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Titans, they're 5-4. The Jaguars are 4-5. Divisional game there at home in Jacksonville. We got the Oakland Raiders. Like I said, they were undefeated. No, actually, they're 7-2. My bad. They're 7-2. They'll be playing at the Lions, who are just 1-8. The Colts and the Falcons. The Colts 1-8. The Falcons 4-5. They can use a big victory here to get back in the playoff conversation. The New York Jets. They'll be playing at the Houston Texans. The New York Jets are 2-7. The Texans are 3-6. One of those games that we're not really interested in. Let's see if the Texans can find a way to get on a winning streak and creep back into the playoff picture. We got the Broncos and Bears. The Denver Broncos, they'll be playing on the road in Chicago. The Broncos are 4-5. The Bears are 1-8. A lot of 1-8 football teams. And it is the Packers. Green Bay Packers are 4-5. They'll play in Minnesota against the Vikings, who are 7-2. The Dolphins and Cowboys. The Cowboys are 5-4. The Dolphins are 4-5. That game will be played in Miami. And you got the 49ers. The 49ers will play in Seattle. Well, the 49ers are 2-7. The Seahawks are the opposite, 7-2. Last game is a Monday Night Football game. It's the Buffalo Bills. They'll be in the spotlight against the New England Patriots. This is a big game. The Bills are 9-0. The Patriots are 7-2. Big game for New England. Let's see if they can win this football game and get back in the conversation of winning the AFC East. Speaking of the AFC East, speaking of the AFC North, South, and West, and included the NFC side, we'll look at the standings right now. This is the latest up-to-date standing, and then we'll try to, talk about the playoffs a little bit. First, let's look at the AFC in general. If the playoffs will begin today, it will be the Kansas City Chiefs. They'll be the number 1 seed, and then it will be the Bills. Out of the AFC East, they'll be undefeated, and the 2nd seed. The 3rd seed team will be the, we're going to have to go all the way down to looking at it, would possibly be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's have a little reminder. We had a game that we played, and our opponent lagged out. I was winning the ball game by 18, and it was the 2-7 Cleveland Browns getting a sim victory over us. That puts us in the third seed spot. Now we're 6-4, having lost that football game and a sim football game. We lost by 18 points, 31-13 against a 2-7 Cleveland Browns team. And that made our record fall to 6-4. A little disappointed about that because we were trying to get communication and, tell the upper echelon, the commissioner people that, hey, we deserve this forced win. But we didn't get it. The loss hurts us. The Pittsburgh Steelers are third seed if the playoffs will begin, and then it'll be the Tennessee Titans out of the AFC South. They'll be the fourth seed. They are at 5-4. And then you got a big mess here involving a lot of teams from the West. You got the Raiders and Chargers. They'll be the 5th and 6th team respectively. And then you got the the New England Patriots fighting right behind them. They'll be they tied for a 6th seed. And let's see what happens there as the AFC battle continues. Let's look at the NFC division and see what happens there in the NFC conference. If the playoffs will begin, it'll be the Arizona Cardinals with the first seed spot. And then it'll be a battle between the Vikings and the Seahawks for the second seed spot. And it will be the Vikings right now. They'll get the bye, and they'll be the second seed. The Seahawks will be third. Well, I lied. The Seahawks, they'll not be the third because they wouldn't be the division winner. It'll be the Cardinals as the division winner for the West. Then the Vikings at number 2. And then the Panthers at number 3. And then it will be the Dallas Cowboys from the NFC East at number 4. They're 4-5. And then we'll be talking about the Seahawks. They'll be the 5th seed, followed up by possibly the Atlanta Falcons and the Buccaneers. So that's your playoff picture. Now let's look at see what we got here. Look at a little bit of stats. Let's actually go into the MVP conversation here. It is about that time of year. We're looking at the yearly rewards. And in that MVP conversation is Russell Wilson, Alex Smith, and Cam Newton. The quarterback is represented for the MVP. And now the coach of the year for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's undefeated, 10-0. Now let's look at offensive player of the year. Got the Alex Smith, the 7-2 Oakland Raiders, and then Le'Veon Bell, 6-4 Pittsburgh Steelers. Defensive player of the year, the Chiefs, representing both. Actually, there's 2 guys in the conversation for the Chiefs, Eric Berry and Corey Toomer. So those are 2 pretty good players representing the AFC Defensive Player of the Year. Offensive Player of the Year for the NFC, Russell Wilson and David Johnson. Defensive Player, Alexanders and Stephon Anthony. And now let's look at a little bit of stats, see what's behind those rewards and why. Passing yardage, Alex Smith leads the league. He has a rating of 117. He has thrown for 3,306 yards, 27 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. He had a lot of picks in this season, but touchdowns, let me see, I think he leads the league in touchdowns at 27. Actually, he's second, and that's why Russell Wilson is also in the conversation, and I believe he deservedly should get that MVP reward. He has thrown 28 touchdowns, so only 6 picks, and a rating of 143.3. Rushing department, it is Drew Archer, over 1,000 yards this season. He ran for 1,000 yards and 85 and 9 touchdowns. The speedster for the Panthers, Drew Archer. And then you got Mike Evans. He leads the NFL in, well, actually I lied. DeAnthony Thomas, he has 1,000 yards flat, even 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, and over 100 yards receiving per game. He leads the NFL in yardage. And Mike Evans will be second at 978 yards and 6 touchdowns. Look at some of the defensive numbers. Who's leading the league in sacks is Connor Bowen. He has 10.5 sacks this season for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then Eric Berry the MVP, or I should say, the Defensive Player of the Year candidate for the Chiefs. He has 15 picks this season, and let's see, he had 2 forced fumbles, and he has 3 touchdowns. He is definitely deserving for the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. That's what we have for you. We'll try to keep this thing updated as we get closer to the playoff time, closer to playoff football. We'll keep this thing updated, and then we'll talk to you again week 11. It is your boy Manuel Z. Week 11, Madden Elite Gamer. Let's keep this thing active, and let's keep this thing rolling as we get closer and closer to playoff times. Each game is more significant, and each game has its own little meaning, when it comes into playoff pictures. And let's see how it will affect, how each win and how each loss will affect each team as we go towards the end of the season. As there are teams now outside looking in, and there's teams now looking forward to the NFL draft. So we'll talk to you later. This is Madden Elite Gaming. Thank you, everybody.